Hello, good morning. So I would like to give you some thoughts about the question, how can we maximize societal value of electric mobility? And to give you some thoughts, I will just ask you some other questions. The first question is, do we have a sustainable level of resource use? So I just show some graphs on the material intensity of our societies. So the graph shows we are clearly getting more and more efficient with the materials we use, the resources we use, but per unit of GDP. But the GDP is always growing, so finally we use more and more resources, more and more material. The same is true for energy. We're getting much more efficient with our energy, but much more efficient per unit of GDP, but as our GDP is growing, we just use more and more energy. This is on the scale of the world. So is it sustainable or not? Therefore, I propose you to have a look at the ecological footprint. So that's an indicator showing how many Earth surface one person needs to sustain his consumption pattern. And the graph here shows that an ecological footprint of 2.1 hectares per habitant of the planet is sustainable. But for the moment we are above the 2.1 in the world, and in Europe and the United States we are much more above it. Furthermore, as a lot of speakers already mentioned, the European Commission wants to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from transport by 60%. So I think we absolutely need a more sustainable level of resource use. And yeah, the question is then, will electric cars contribute to this? I think the answer is quite positive, as a lot of speakers already told us. Energy consumption will go down, greenhouse gas emissions will go down thanks to electric cars. But the energy consumption in an optimistic hypothesis will go down by 10 to 30%. And there's still a lot of uncertainties about real life energy consumption, of real life behavior of electric cars. So maybe it's not enough. And as already another speaker also told this morning, to build an electric car, the batteries, they need a lot of resources. Again, so we need more resources to build the cars, the electric cars and other cars. So that's not too positive neither. So the question is then, is it possible to do better? Can we do better than electric cars? Electric cars is already an improvement, but couldn't we do better? What I propose is to think about light electric vehicles. So not just electric cars, but a light electric vehicles like electric bicycle or other type of small electric vehicle. And to illustrate this why this is so useful, I just put a table there with the energy consumption of a few vehicle types. So they're the relative energy use from the moving the car, the moving the vehicle, and the production of the fuel. So relative to the first column is relative to a conventional car, the second column is relative to an electric car, and you see clearly when you make vehicles lighter, smaller, also limit the speed, of course, you will gain huge amounts of energy. So from a conventional car to a light 4-person vehicles, there's already a factor 3. From an electric car just to a lighter, very light, smaller electric vehicle, the factor 2. To an electric bicycle, of course, electric assisted bicycle, of course, you gain much more energy. And this, of course, is just because the energy use is proportional with the weight of the vehicle and with the square of the speed, and the same goes for material use. So electric cars can improve our resource use, but we can do better. The second question I want to provide you with to give you some thoughts about electric mobility is, do we use enough energy? So I mean by we as human beings. Probably this picture clarifies what I mean. We are getting more inactive since 2030, since the Second World War, we are getting more and more inactive. This means we're getting problems linked to this inactivity. We're getting diabetes, other health problems due to physical inactivity. Other speakers showed a lot of figures, economic figures. Here I also show some figures, some cost figures on this physical inactivity, and they're really huge. So the EU thinks just on diabetes alone, EU calculates it costs us 2,100 euros per patient per year. And patients with diabetes, or people having diabetes or form of diabetes, is growing, and it's really a huge amount. It's 10 to 20% of citizens seems to have diabetes over a certain form. Of course, this is not all linked to physical inactivity, but physical inactivity is an important factor influencing it. Also, the World Health Organization has some figures on physical inactivity, or the cost of physical inactivity. So they speak about a figure of 150 to 300 euros per citizens per year. That's also very huge, I think. And of course, yeah, electric cars make us more active. Unfortunately, they will not. So you probably know what I will come up with. I just add one word to the light electric vehicle. I think we can also think about hybrid light electric vehicles. And hybrid here means, as you see there, this is human power and electric power together. You can combine them, and you can transport quite heavy loads with it, or you can move faster than with a simple bicycle, only with human force. So this is quite a good idea. It makes active travel also accessible to a lot more people. So, and then the third question is to make us think about electric mobility, or how to maximize societal value of electric mobilities. Livability of cities. Do you live in a city where it is nice living? Or maybe you even left the city because it's not nice to live in a city, because you like the green areas, because yeah, you like just rest, silence. So people need, from having good living, they need room and space for relationship, they need green areas, and of course they need clean air. So I guess you know already what I will sell, or what I will ask now. Electric cars, what do they do about all this? So I think they can help us to some extent. They will provide cleaner air, I should tell, because they're not completely clean. There is still the non-exhaust fine dust emissions. Non-exhaust fine dust emissions are emissions caused by brake wear, tires that are used, road abrasion. So when this is getting much quite important problem, fine dust emissions of cars, of the last generation of cars, is 5 milligrams or maximum 5 milligrams per kilometer. The fine dust, the non-exhaust fine dust emissions, there are about around 20, or estimates are going around 20 grams, so 4 times more than the exhaust emissions. So, and an electric car, of course, have also those non-exhaust fine dust emissions, probably to a lesser extent as they have regenerative braking, but they are there. Room and space, if we just simply replace a conventional car with an electric car, we will not get more room, more space in our cities. Yeah, I think this photograph makes it clear. So I guess now you know the answer on this question. I think we can do better. Light electric vehicles. And yeah, the problem of congestion, the fourth item I would like to speak about is congestion. The previous speaker already told about congestion. We know what it is. We know it's not nice. We all have experienced it already. It has a huge cost. EU estimates also 1% of European GDP is lost in congestion. Electric cars, as you know, will not improve the situation of congestion. simply replacing a conventional car with an electric car will not improve the situation, will not make us lose less time in congestion. So, once again, we can do better. So there are light electric vehicles existing, especially for moving to a city, commuting short distances. Electric cars or electric vehicles are by definition for short distances. So why not replacing them by, or scaling them down? And then there are even wildcards for light electric vehicles, some wildcards. So you can combine them easily with mass transport. They are small, so you can just park them at intermodal nodes. And you can share them. You can make sharing of those smaller vehicles also much easier. Also, the previous speaker also spoke already about the facility of just having bicycle, but you can also have electric bicycles, especially in Brussels. As it goes up and down, it should be very convenient. Or even small electric, hybrid electric vehicles should be very nice. So, as a conclusion, I think hybrid light electric vehicles will maximize societal, or can maximize societal value of electric mobility. So make those vehicles the backbone of our mobility system. Think about combination with mass transport, of course. Pay attention to intermodal nodes and organize shared mobility. Share those vehicles. Make it possible for people to share those vehicles. Just a small remember of the different items on which light electric vehicles, or for why light electric vehicles are so interesting. And I just want to thank you for your attention.